For this Sailor Moon cake, I decided to go with strawberries because I felt the brightness goes with her personality, and the red is also one of her colors. I'm also using blueberries. So I'm starting the process by basically making sugarless strawberry and blueberry jams. Now these sugarless jams, or puree reductions, are going to be used to flavor the cake and the frosting. These are the blueberries after being stewed for an hour without any sugar, and this is the strawberries after being stewed for a couple hours without the sugar. You want to do that on low, stirring frequently. Now for the base of the cake, I'm doing a butter-based white cake. I looked up a recipe online and tried it, and it was eh. So I decided to improve upon it by making your basic white cake by creaming butter and sugar, and then in place of the complete egg white addition for your egg component, I add one whole egg at this stage. But the reason I did that, it's not like this clever cook thing, it's just I happen to have only 4 leftover egg whites from a previous recipe in the fridge, so I just added the extra egg. Now I've just added the strawberry puree, and that's basically in place of the milk that you would ordinarily add in a white cake. I'm adding some lemon juice because cooked strawberries lose strawberry flavor, but adding lemon juice makes them taste like fresh strawberries again. So just adding in that lemon juice. And this is where I realized my bowl was too small, and I put it in the larger bowl, which I used to whip the egg whites. That is flour and baking powder sifted in. I also used some baking soda, I know you can't really see, to counter the acid in the lemon juice and in the strawberries. Now, do not use an electric mixer to mix in the flour. I cringe whenever I watch baking videos on the internet where they use electric mixers to mix cakes, because that produces a very tough cake because you're overworking the gluten. So gently mix by hand. And it's going to look extremely thick, like a cookie dough at this point, but it will thin out when you add the whipped egg whites later, so don't worry. Now, if I were making this cake just for me and it weren't a cartoony cake, I would not add food coloring, but I wanted a nice, vibrant, really dark pink for this cake to go with Sailor Moon's colors, so there you are. And now this is where I'm adding the egg whites in batches. This first third of the egg whites is designed to just lighten up that bit of, well, I was going to call it a dough, and yeah, at that point it does kind of look like a dough rather than a batter. But as you add in the egg whites, it becomes more and more like a batter, as you will see. I used mostly egg whites as opposed to whole eggs because I wanted to make it, light and fluffy. Using fruit in cakes, it tends to make the cakes kind of dense. I've done that before in the past and had not very good results. And the egg whites worked really well. You bake those in the oven till they're done. Now I'm making lemon frosting for the accents, lemon zest to flavor my butter. And again, I wouldn't ordinarily add food coloring, but since this is a cartoony cake, I'm adding in powdered sugar and then also some yellow food coloring and lemon juice instead of cream, what I would ordinarily add in a simple American buttercream. So there's your lemon frosting. Set that aside for the yellow accents. And now I am making a blueberry frosting. This is the same method. I'm creaming butter and I'm adding pureed blueberries, which are, by the way, not blue. They are purple, as you can see quite clearly. I was well aware of this when I set out to make the cake with blueberries. I figured, well, I'll just add a lot of blueberry food coloring and that should cancel out, the purple, and because purple's kind of close to blue, right? So it should work. So I added, big, generous squeeze of blue food coloring there. And I don't know if you can hear it, but my cat's mewing in the background while I'm doing this narration. And as you can see, it's kind of like this weird, ugly, grayish, bluish, purplish color now, and not really blue. So I'm adding in more blue food coloring. I swear I used like half the bottle, and some lemon juice to brighten up the blueberries and make them taste fresher, like I did with the strawberries in the cake. I didn't even wind up using all the pureed blueberry because I was just too scared to make it more purple. So you take your cakes and slice them in half so that you can get 4 layers instead of just 2. It makes a nicer presentation. And as you'll see, it's this nice vibrant, ooh, look at that pink, look at that nice dark pink. And then thin layers of the blueberry frosting. Now, if I were making this cake just for myself to enjoy and not trying to mimic a Sailor Moon character, I would probably layer this with either vanilla frosting or whipped cream instead of blueberry frosting. I feel like that's a little redundant and a little overly sweet. It tasted good, it's just not what I would do if I were trying to make it taste good. So I am using a whole large strawberry to simulate her brooch. trying to cut it like a heart here, and and you'll see how it turned out. It's beautiful and looks very much like the real thing. Anyway, I put that on a little heart-shaped circle of lemon frosting, and you'll see those little lemon balls on the outside of the cake. Those are to simulate Usagi's like odango on her head, her buns. And then these strawberries are like those weird red thingies that are on her buns that seem to defy the laws of physics. Like, how do they even stay in her hair? And then I'm adding edible pearls to make the brooch look more like a brooch, which totally helps. And then piping on a really misshapen moon on her brooch as well. You'll see how well that turned out. Thanks for watching. My next cake, I think I'm either going to do Sailor Mercury or Sailor Jupiter. Tune in!